Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, awesome.
Hello, good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm all right. I'm all right.
Okay. Did you do something different with your bangs? I
Yeah.
don't know why.
I cut my bangs.
Oh, okay. They were good. I like them.
Thank you. They were kind of long, so I wasn't using them as bangs anymore. And then last night I was like, why am I even struggling with this? Let me just chop them off.
This might be a sign. I've been thinking about, I've had bangs in the past as well, and I've been thinking about getting them. So maybe this is a sign.
Maybe, yeah. Just make sure to cut them when they're dry, not wet, because then they shrink.
Oh yeah, I would not trust. I will pay someone to do it.
That's probably for the best. I have a girlfriend at work. She cut her own bangs, and this is the second time she's done it in maybe the last 2 months. She didn't learn the first time. She cut them, and they're like up here right now. I'm like, why did you do that?
Well, good thing for most of us, it grows back.
Yeah, thankfully, yes.
So how are you? Doing okay? Anything transpired since I last saw you?
Not too much. I did something dumb today. I went and took a peek at his social media page. Just because I noticed a change of picture. I wasn't even looking for him or anything, but when I was talking to somebody else, I noticed that his picture had a different color, and I was like, oh, he finally changed his picture from one that he's had for years. And I went and I looked at it, and I shouldn't have done it. It made me upset. Made me upset. He posted he posted a lot of updates, which is not like him. But one of a few like cryptic things that he's talking about, he regrets, how did he word it? He feels bad about some of the things in the past and other things he doesn't. But for the people that he feels bad about, he wish he could communicate easy. That's how he wrote it. But the one that upset me was that he posted a picture of the 2 cats that he abandoned. And then on the top, the quote was, I'm sorry I failed you. And I'm thinking to myself, because one of the last times that we talked on the phone, he said that. He said he wouldn't say it to me, but he said it about his cats. I miss them so much. They were my emotional support, Oh, okay. What I really wanted to say in that moment is like, oh, you miss your cats, the ones you abandoned, like you abandoned my son and I. But we were not your emotional support. We weren't here loving you and appreciating you as a human being. So fuck us, basically. You can say you missed your cats. You can say that you failed your cats. But what about the 2 humans that were there? So that upset me. I was like, why the fuck did I come here? Just to see something like that.
Yeah, I feel like, right, when you go looking for something, you're probably going to find something that you don't want to see, right?
Yeah.
Are you surprised by your reaction?
No, I'm not. I've still had moments where it just hits me. It hits me in like a little sore spot. It feels like there's still a little hole there that's healing, but it's not quite there.
Yeah, it's still an open wound, right?
Is. And yeah, it's tender. So little things here and there trigger it. Like I'm seeing this other person, and he'll say something like, it was really innocent. He said something like, he's quite fond of me or something like that. And it's just like, it hit there. It hit there because, well, that was me and my relationship. We were quite fond of each other until, and I don't know, sometimes it still hits me like, wow, I should have been married by now. Like, I would have been married had things gone in a typical sense. Had I been with somebody who was stable, I would have been married right now, not listening to some other guy tell me, oh, I'm quite fond of you. So it's like, oh, those little things get me.
And they probably will for some time, right? It's definitely gonna take some time
yeah,
to heal from what was such an important relationship for you.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's only normal. And I think it's also only normal for you to be curious and want to go look at his social media.
I need to not do that.
And I think probably you had to learn the hard way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. But like you said, it's very sad to reflect on what you thought your life was going to be, and it's not that.
Yes. And I'm having a hard time deciding if he was showing me these things from the beginning, these red flags from the beginning, or was he so good at hiding it that I didn't realize how toxic this person really was until everything just kind of fell apart. So I'm not sure. I know there was some things that I remember seeing, but I don't know if I could have guessed this kind of outcome.
How important is it for you to kind of navigate and flush out the early stages of the relationship to try to pinpoint and find those red flags? How important is that for you?
I guess not very, in the grand scheme of things. I just don't want to make the same mistakes. I want to make sure that I'm really learning something. I mean, I feel like I've grown from this for sure. Out of all the moments in my life where I've had a failed relationship or something not work out for whatever reason, I feel like this impacted me. This is one of the stronger impacts, this relationship, because I let myself go on, a deeper level. So, yeah, that kind of blew up in my face.
Like you said, you put yourself out there and you really cared. And I imagine that little things will continue to trigger you, but the hope is that it will hurt a little less and less every time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because if you didn't care and if you didn't put so much energy and effort and love into it, then shoot, this would be easy, right? Nothing would trigger you. But I think it's only normal to feel that way.
Yeah.
But I think you've made progress, like you've said, and growth, and you're taking these things and wanting to learn from them, right?
Yes.
And I think over time you get a little more detached from it, right? The same with trauma, and as we talk about EMDR, right? Through that, through the healing process, you're able to reprocess, right, some of these things, and it doesn't feel so close. It doesn't feel so real and like raw, right? Yeah. And I'm sorry that happened, that you, especially, I guess my thoughts about the cats possibly is that, he's not, like you said, he even said, I wish I could communicate more clearly, because it sounds like almost maybe he's projecting onto the cats, right? It's not really about the cats. Like he wishes maybe it is about you and your son, but he doesn't know how to communicate that.
I wondered about that, and then I thought, well, what if it's just my wishful thinking, that he was thinking about us? But I think he can't think about the cats without thinking about us, so, because we were all one big group. So, I don't know. There was, what happened? It was really, really interesting. So I was here in my desk, was it last night or the night before? I was here in my desk and I was shutting things down. Had my phone on the desk itself, and I was shutting things down. It was kind of late at night, and as I turned off the light, my phone came on, and it came on Facebook, and they came on to somebody, and I've never come across this person before, but it was a card reader, someone that I guess reads tarot cards. And I was looking at this person like, who is this person? Because for some reason I thought I was watching them live for a second. But no, it was a recording. It popped up on my phone and the volume was up so I could hear it. And I just turned off my light, so everything was dark. It felt like I was just supposed to focus on this. And so I started listening. And everything this person said made so much sense. I felt like she was specifically talking about my situation. It was like 15 minutes or something,
Wow.
but I was like, whoa. And I feel like she just hit the nail on the head intuitively with some of the things that I saw that I'm interpreting from those pictures that he posted. I feel like I'm listening to that lady and I see the correlation. Yeah, so I was like, wow, someone wanted me to listen to this at that moment because it turned on all by itself. I mean, the phone was unlocked and I just put it down and I was doing things. I must have pressed some kind of button with my freaking long nails or something, but right then and there, it just all happened to come to that. Yeah, moments like that
You
happen
felt
in
like
my
she
life.
was really speaking to you, and
Yes,
it sounds like you listened.
yes, yeah. I sat there because I at first just she got me from the beginning. When she started talking about the content of that relationship, and I thought, huh, this is interesting. Okay, and I listen. And moments like this happen in my life a lot, where I'm talking to somebody, a stranger stops me or gets my attention, and we start talking, and I feel like what they're saying is some kind of guidance beyond that person's understanding. They're saying something that really speaks to me. And I've had friends standing next to me going, what is going on? Like they'll elbow me, like, are you listening to this? I'm like, yeah, this happens in my life a lot. I feel like, whatever it is that we believe in speaks through people sometimes. And I'm like, okay, here is wisdom being passed down from this person to me. So, um, yeah. So I felt like that was one of those moments where it's like, listen to this.
Yeah, that's very special. What was the main takeaway from that?
The main takeaway for me was that because sometimes I feel because he doesn't emotionally communicate and he's left me with so many cliffhangers and he himself understands that he's just he doesn't know how to communicate, so he'd rather not. I feel like he's emotionally detached. And so, even though he says he has a lot of feelings, I feel like sometimes he's so emotionally detached that he was able to move on from us, just kind of my son and I just up and go. And I know that it affected him, but I don't feel like it affected him as much as he says that it has. So that's a little hard for me to take. It's been a little hard for me to being a feeler. So when something from the cards talks about he's still thinking about you guys. He's is remorseful. He's looking back and he's regretting things, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It kind of helps ease a little bit of that hole that I feel inside, that sensitive spot, because it's like, okay, well, maybe he wasn't as heartless as I feel he was. So it helps a little.
Kind of provides a little bit of a reframe
Mm-hmm.
for you to think about it in a different perspective.
Right.
Yeah. And to kind of, it probably really pulls your empathetic side back in a little bit,
It
right?
does.
Of, bringing back, who you really are, that you do have a lot of love for people and you do want to see the good in them, and that those are good qualities to have, and let's not forget those qualities, right? It's just a matter, like, I think maybe that's like the reminder, right? Because when you're triggered by him, I'm sure a lot of anger and sadness and frustration come up, right? And
yes,
maybe that's that little reminder to not forget that part of you, right? Because now it's just, I think now that you can recognize that you have that part of you, and that, in a way it can be taken advantage of, right? It's like, how do you, again, with what was it last week, the alter ego, right? Like, how do you take that piece of you and use it for, like, how do you empower that part of you, right? So that way you are in control of when you do let people in, right? And what you do allow people to take, or what you give to others, right?
Yes.
But yeah, I think that's a great takeaway. And I think as time has gone on and we've talked more about the relationship and how you've been dealing with it now, I can see your wheels are turning much more, right? And even though you were triggered by something, it's like you're starting to think further into things, right? And that's why I kind of asked, like, well, how important is it for you to really dig into, you know, did I see those signs, or what were those signs early on? You know, because like you said, in the grand scheme of things, it might not be as important, right, as
Right.
just learning that overall, hey, I just need to have open eyes, right? Kind of a broader lens when I look at people.
Yes.
And I would imagine too, because the wound is still open and it still is painful. I see him. That was because it's still an open wound and an open hole there in your heart, right? Probably trying to dig too deep into that still might be a little painful, right?
Yes.
So maybe over time, as you become less attached to the feelings and having, you know, those triggers feel so real and raw immediately, maybe then maybe you might revisit that and think, what were the signs early on? But I think overall you've learned you've learned a more general overall lesson from this relationship.
I have. Yes.
And the energy, you know, taken to dig deeper into those things, at least right now, yeah, it'll be probably better used putting that energy somewhere else, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what it is about this relationship that I think it was just the fact that we were both, I saw it differently. We were both grown. I felt like this was it. This was my partner. This was going to be my husband. I've dated a lot of guys. They were my boyfriends, but this man was going to be my husband. And this man really saw me. I saw him. So it felt, I don't know, I attached. And so that's been so difficult because I've never been like this to this extent where I get annoyed with myself. Like, okay, already. He wasn't all that. So why are you so emotionally attached to this?
I mean, you were attached, again, kind of going back to this idea of, you were attached to the idea of him, right?
Yes.
Or the idea of the life you two are going to have.
Yes.
Right? And I think this, see, as you were saying, you were talking about how you're curious, like you've never been curious, like, what's he saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even this most recent, when we talked last week, the things you two were talking about, or what it was leading up to, he was giving you hope again, right?
Right.
So I wonder if you're trying, as much as maybe you're like, I know I shouldn't, or I know I don't want to, but it's just inherently and intuitively happening. Maybe you're still looking for that hope. You're still fishing around for, is there a sign here? Because he's given it to you before, so why wouldn't you expect it, right? Like that seems normal. It's that makes sense to me.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, you're gross that you were able to move on like that. Considering some of how deep our connection seemed to be in some of like our times together, some of our videos and stuff. And it's just I can't understand somebody that just moves on from one person to the next like that with nothing, just moves on. So, and places those feelings onto the next person as if those feelings belong there, you know? So it upsets me.
Yeah. Do you feel like you allow yourself time to still grieve the relationship?
It happens not voluntarily. It happens in moments where maybe a song comes on that was special, or like the day after the dinner that I went out with this new guy and my girlfriend, and we went to that one part where we recorded our engagement video, and so it happened in moments like that where it's like, just I have all these emotions like stuck in my throat, and I'll grieve the situation for a few minutes.
And then what happens after a few minutes?
I feel better and just think rationally about the situation. Think about like this. I play, I think, the scenario of, okay, maybe if we talked or something, but then I think to myself, and then what? I wouldn't want this person back. And the reality is that I wouldn't trust this person. This person isn't healed. There's so much negative. The reality of this is that there's so much negative there that there's no way that we could ever have a healthy relationship after this. So I just have to move on from that.
Well, I think two things. One, I think it's totally okay to hold both of those things true, right? I can still grieve and miss him and be upset. And also, I know that I wouldn't trust him. Like because I think before it was just the I'm upset, right? I mean, and when we think about grieving this relationship, right, it was very difficult and painful. This other piece now of bringing in that rational part of your brain, right, of saying, yeah, but I know I couldn't trust him, and I know this wouldn't work out. And okay, what if we talked? Then what? Like, I think even though, yeah, I see you bringing in those two now, and I think that's improvement, right? And to be able to hold both and be like, that's okay, right?
Yeah.
To hold both. Because, I mean, most likely, I mean, that's ideal, right? For us to have both emotional and rational. We don't want just our emotions driving us, and we don't want just logic driving us, right?
Yes, it's true.
So I think it's okay to, have both. And what I hear is you're questioning things more, and you're challenging yourself. I can't remember. I know I said two things, and I don't know if that kind of turned into both, but I just wanted to reflect that even though maybe it still feels like, oh, I'm so mad at myself for getting upset. Why did I go do that? Right? It's all normal. Breakups are complicated. It's not easy, right?
Yeah.
It's not a linear process.
So true.
But I do see you pulling in, like you said, like, okay, wait, before I do make a decision, before I reach out, let's play this out. What is this going to look like? And I think you're learning, unfortunately, because you've had to learn the hard way. You've done it, and then you got hurt. And so
right.
You're not allowing yourself you're not putting yourself in that situation again.
No.
And as hard as that is, and that's okay for it to be difficult, right? And again, asking yourself, how important is it for me to understand someone like him? How important is it for me to understand how can people just move on so quickly? Like, is that where you want to put your effort? Are you going to get an answer? Are you going to be satisfied with the answer? Right?
That's the question, the $1 million question right there. Am I going to be satisfied with that answer? More than likely, no.
Again, how important is it? Because if it's important, then great. You can go search for those answers and really try to understand the other person. But at the end of the day, that's giving more energy and effort towards something that you might not be satisfied with the answer you get.
Yeah, so true. I think I've already done enough with trying to understand him and his condition and all of that. So just at this point, it's just beating the dead horse.
The intention is to move forward, and you are. And even you said you met in person with someone else. I did. Right? Yes. I mean, you're doing things, whether or not it's just really lighthearted, right? Or just for fun. Maybe you'll never see him again. I don't know. But
we've had 2 dates.
Your actions are speaking. Oh, 2. Okay.
We saw each other the next day.
Okay.
And then we'll see each other this Friday again. We're going out to dinner. Yeah, he's a nice guy. But one of my coworkers, when she asked, because she was so excited about it, and she's like, "How did you meet him? Where did he come from?" All of this, because she's on my social media, and I posted a picture, and I said, "Well, I met him on a dating app, and he's nice. He's a teacher, and we're getting along. We have things in common, and obviously teaching is one of them." And I said, "I don't know," because she gets so excited, like, "Oh my gosh, congratulations!" And I was like, "I don't know. We're just friends." I said, "But I'm really leery." I said, "Because he's bipolar too, and as you know, I said my ex was bipolar 1, rapid cycling." And she looked at me. She got really quiet. And she's like, "Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't put that on this guy." He said, "Because this guy could be completely different. Can be somebody who's handling his situation. She's like, don't do it. And that was the first time I got that kind of reaction from somebody, because most people, most of my girlfriends and stuff that I've mentioned my concern, have said, "Oh no, honey, no, don't even, just run the other way. Don't attract those kind of men." And so, but he was very forthcoming with his situation, and that he has a psychiatrist and he's on medication, and he's telling me about his family, and I see some of the things intuitively. I've done a little card reading on him, and intuitively I feel like him moving up here was kind of an episode for him, was kind of a let loose and do something like what my ex did, just move out of here and take off back to Portland. This was kind of the thing, because he says that his mom and his dad are both concerned that maybe he's having a little bit of an episode coming up here. But he said he had nothing to lose. He a few people got let go at the job that he was, the school district that he was working in, and he had broken up with his partner of 6 years, and he really didn't have anything happening there. So he got this opportunity. He said all the synchronicities were here. Everything fell into place kind of beautifully, and quite honestly, I'm happy up here. So he was trying to reassure his parents that this isn't an episode. This is like just, change in his life, a new chapter. So.
And is that reassuring you?
It did. Like, it did. Yeah, especially because he can communicate like an adult. And I appreciate that. That's not a conversation I could have just easily had with my ex. Not like that. So I appreciated that about him, and I appreciate that we're taking everything really slow, just friendship and keeping it really casual, but I can tell he's crushing a little bit.
Of course, who wouldn't? What are you doing to protect your energy, even though it's just casual and just friendly for now? Are you doing anything different that maybe you haven't done prior to in dating experiences?
I am. I see myself, I'm kind of proud of myself because where I've been naive before, and I think, oh, he's a nice guy, and just kind of let him into my world and start oversharing, or just, wanting to spend a lot of time with him. I'm more reserved. For the most part, I let him contact me. I don't overshare. I don't share too much. I'll let him ask me questions. Sometimes I want to text him, but I'm like, no, I won't initiate anything right now. Let's just have some distance. Let's just have let me miss this person a little bit. I don't know. I'm just not jumping into things, and I'm definitely trying to keep it light, because, I'm a lioness woman and I get a little prowly sometimes, especially when the guy's cute. And so I'm really trying to hone in that energy and not try to go there.
Which can be difficult.
Yes.
I imagine to harness. But yes, I think, right, like being able to, I think you said at the beginning, check yourself in a way, right?
Yes.
Like, let me take a pause before I act.
Yes.
Let me think about things before I act. So before I jump his bones, let me take a pause.
Yes.
And right, like before, how flirtatious do I want to be? Right. Kind of even setting those boundaries with yourself, right? Because I think it is important for you to protect your energy. And I'm glad to hear that you're actively making ways and doing things to do that, right? So that this doesn't happen again. And it's just a learning process, right? This really might just be like a little trial and error,
Yeah.
Because I don't even want to say like relapse or slip up, but it's funny to phrase it that way, right? But say, you're not able to check yourself in a moment, and something happens and you get hurt, and that's okay, right? I mean, it's gonna be trial and error as you navigate, right? You say you've attracted a certain type of person for most of your life, and yes. I don't think that's gonna change overnight, right? Not to say that he is like your coworker said, gave you that new perspective of, let's not project, let's not put that on him, because he's not your ex,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So true.
Yeah. Well, I want to be mindful of time,
Okay.
that you were able to like manage whatever emotions came up on your own with your other coping skills that you have.
I did do this at one point. So our manager at work is back. She's back from maternity leave, but she's not in the office. She's working from home. But it's clear that she's trying to establish her place again, and it's amazing how someone with such little power can get such a big head sometimes. And so she's kind of a heavy person to deal with. And so none of us were really looking forward to this moment. We were all had a lot of anxiety. So there was a moment where we had a meeting, all of us together in our team, and I could just feel the tension in the room and my own tension. And I just started doing this on my lap because it was a Zoom meeting. And I didn't realize it at first.
Oh, okay, I like this.
And so I caught myself because a girlfriend of mine, she does it too, and she has a lot of anxiety. She does it too, and she's kind of squeezed my arm, and I looked at her and she smiled, and I was like, "Oh, I'm doing it," and realizing I must be really stressed.
Did you notice you were feeling anything different after you did that?
I did, yes. I felt like I was able to cope with the situation and not feel like it was going to turn into a panic attack, or like where I start holding my breath and just really tense. It didn't get to that point, so it was nice.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I love that happened unconsciously for you. And I think that probably will happen again.
That's awesome. My body knows what it's doing.
It can be like, it's a natural self-soother, right? It self-soothes.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm just really happy. I'm just like the big grin on my face. I'm like, I love that. You just found yourself doing it.
Yeah.
And that you had a positive experience, that it actually did help. So I don't think we'll have time really, as we wrap up today, to do another, by the time I send you a new link and stuff, to do another one. But
okay,
the goal would be to practice that one more time, and then we can get started. Something I want to send to you is this. I have a book. I'll send you like copies of it, the pages. It is a visual aid describing EMDR.
Okay.
So sometimes I like to use this because sometimes I'm not the best with my words, and it helps to explain the process a little bit more through visualizations, or someone actually illustrating what it looks like.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and send that your way.
Thank you.
And really the next step, or I would say the first step in EMDR, is really just figuring out, where do we start? Where, in terms of traumatic experiences, traumatic memories, I'll just say in general, it will be up to you, but we can either start with the most, this isn't in any order, but the most recent, the most traumatic, or the first. So I think they've said that the other way around, the first, right? We could either start with the earliest traumatic memory you have. We could start with the most recent, or the last traumatic memory that you've had. Or we can start with the most traumatic. So either first, last, or the most painful, if that makes sense.
Quite a few of those, so probably either the first or the last.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't want you to spend too much time, but I just thinking about it in between sessions this next week, but I just wanted to throw that out there, that we will be picking one to start with.
Okay.
And so if you can at least have an idea of maybe where you might like to start, that will be helpful for us in determining the next steps. And through that, we can say you pick one, you're like, oh, let's start working on this one. And you're like, oh, you know what? That makes me think of something else. Maybe we should do that instead. We can totally do that. It's not set in stone, but that's going to be the first step, is gathering information about that.
Okay. I'm nervous.
One that you want. What was that?
I'm nervous.
You're feeling nervous?
I am.
Tell me a little bit more. What are you feeling nervous about? What's coming up for you right now?
Fear of tapping into those moments, those memories.
Mm-hmm. What would it mean for you to tap into those moments or memories?
Having to relive that.
So the fear of that throughout this treatment process, you would relive and I imagine possibly like feel re-traumatized.
Possibly, yeah. Okay.
And that's totally fair. That's totally fair to have that fear. I give you an elevator pitch for how this doesn't do that. And I would say that the preparation that is required prior to starting this process is what makes it more effective, because just as you and I have been building rapport and getting to know each other and just talking about what's been going on, current things, right? Building that rapport, and then practicing Flower Islands, right? With the bilateral stimulation, which we will do again, maybe even twice next week.
Okay.
Just to practice. And if also next week we want to talk about feeling nervous about it, we will absolutely just take as much time as we need to talk about that, right? Because I don't want you to feel like you have to start something that you don't feel ready for. Or if you need some more reassurance or education, like I said, I think what I'll email you over the next few days will be helpful with that.
Okay.
But the preparation that comes into play, and also, like I said, being able to queue up Flower Island in session by being able to stop when you're feeling overwhelmed is what will help this experience feel less like you're reliving it. Okay. Because there will be that space to say, hey, this is too much and I need to stop. Let's bring in Flower Island. I feel maybe I'm just talking too much, but there's things in place to be able to assure that the re-traumatization and it does not happen. Okay. Although I understand, of course, right, when we haven't talked about things and we've suppressed things for so long, and so now talking about them and bringing them to the forefront of our brain, you're right. It is scary to think that you might feel like you're reliving it because you haven't. It's been way back here for so long. Right?
Yeah.
And so as we move towards that, do you think that there's anything, again, self-care is going to come into play, right? Is there anything this next week besides your fun date on Friday that you'll be doing to take care of yourself, or, now that we've talked about here's what the next step's going to be, and these feelings have come up, I imagine you might feel nervous maybe later tonight as you're thinking about this conversation, or the next day, maybe it might come up. What's something that you think you can do to kind of empower yourself to move towards readiness?
I think I was actually thinking that I'm gonna maybe journal a little bit about why it is that I want to do this, and that I'm not going to back down from it. I definitely want to do it. I definitely want to experience, and I know that this could very possibly be a really positive experience for me in the end. So I'm gonna do it regardless.
Holding two different competing ideas together is okay, right? And they can both be true at the same time.
Yeah,
So
do that a lot.
I'm nervous, and also I know I want to do this,
yes.
right? And so I think that's a great idea, journaling about, and how are you going to empower yourself, right? And reminding yourself of your power. I just don't want you to feel pressure. Okay, this is on your terms, and I'm going to meet you where you're at. And I'm just letting you know, like, this is here for you when you're ready. And when you're ready, we will do this together.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah, of course. It was great to see you again.
Same.
Now I'm going to go have someone cut my bangs. I'm like, maybe next week you'll see me with bangs.
There you go.
That's too soon. I'm not ready yet, but they look great. I love them on you.
Thank you. Bye. It's about to get real. And this is the stuff that in all my years of therapy, I've never brought up. So I'm not sure if I'm going to record that stuff. I don't think I will. And if I do, I'll make those private. Because the rest of that has to do with child abuse. I don't need to share that.